You have to acknowledge the reality, regardless of which end of the ideological spectrum you're on, that this idea that the relationship between a corporation and a worker is an entirely voluntary one is a figment of our imagination. The reality is that the relationship depends upon the balance of power. Because if you were to really believe that it's totally a voluntary relationship, then you should be arguing for child labor, because that was legal at one time, and that was argued as a beneficial thing for the economy.
But the fact is that the children are not capable of consent, which is why the legislation was appropriate from all ideological points of view. In terms of whether basically this trickle-up economics, this idea that if you pay people $15 an hour, it will help the general economy, it's evidencing a differential point of view with regard to how money is invested and what makes your life as a consumer better. The truth is that Mother Teresa did less good for the world than Bill Gates, as a general matter. Because more people gained their jobs through Bill Gates, more people have a product that Bill Gates created, more people's lives have been bettered through Bill Gates. Mother Teresa did a lot of wonderful things. But the reality of the situation is that what makes your life better than people's lives were 50 years ago is all the new products and services developed by all the rich people who hire you. All of you out there who I'm sure are not rich, are you working for a poor person right now? Who is hiring you? Who's paying your salary? Unless you're working for the government, and even then you're not working for a poor person, you're paying for the rich people who actually pay the taxes that pay for you to work for the government. So this idea that economic growth is a function of people making $15 an hour versus $14 an hour is simply not true. The reality of the situation is that what makes the economy grow is new products and services that make your life better and which require millions of dollars in research and development. And as far as the point that was made about the salary of the CEO of Walmart, all I can say is this. Walmart has approximately, they're the biggest employer in the country. They have something on the order of 2 million employees across the country. Let's say we agree that 20 million is too much. And let's say that we cut that salary to zero. Great, we just gave everybody $10, right, for the year. So let's stop pretending that the vast wealth imbalance inside Walmart is causing poverty for people at the bottom. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you. You know that you weren't registered, whatever, for the group didn't register you for an event. They have strict things, so you're not allowed, into the event.
Well, I mean, YAF did inform you that I was coming as a speaker, as a person sitting in the audience, as well as a member of Christina Hoff Sommers' team. So I'm not sure whether their standards are necessary. I'm also wondering exactly why it's so necessary to keep me personally out.
We're just following protocol, sir.
Well, why is your protocol to keep me specifically out?
What country protocol? Soviet Union or United States?
Do you want to step over here to the side?
Well, I'm happy to do it right here if you'd like. I mean,
doesn't have to
it needs to
step
be
on-
private.
The bottom line is it's private property, okay? That it wasn't proper procedures weren't followed, and you're not going to be allowed.
So am I to understand that if I take 3 steps forward, you will attempt to have me arrested?
If you create a problem and you will not, leave the campus, yes.
Okay, so just to be clear, if I attempt to enter that hall right there and sit down just to listen to somebody speak, or if I attempt to ask a question or to engage in free speech, you will have me arrested.
At this point, yes, sir.
Okay, I'm glad that we've clarified that situation. I'm also glad that in a city, I mean, clearly you have great security. I'm glad in a city that has some 4,000 shootings to this date, you have 30 members of security just for a 5'9", 165 Jewish guy. Just like maybe a mild allocation of resources.
Tell me one at a time. Stand up. You are not looking out for them. Their safety is not your concern. Safety! 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 Safety!
Privilege when you basically just said that trans people aren't valid. They're not a thing. They're just girls pretending to be boys or boys pretending to be girls.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, someone's excited. Okay.
It's biological, but gender is a completely different thing.
No, gender is not disconnected from sex. So.
It's not completely disconnected, but it's still a cultural thing. It's still from society. It's
okay. No, it is not in the mind. Okay, you're not a man if you think you're a man. And I didn't say pretending, or if I did, I shouldn't have said pretending. Let me amend.
You said playing.
Okay, I said a boy who thinks he's a girl. That's the usual phraseology I use. not playing. I usually say a boy who thinks he's a girl or a girl who thinks he's a boy, which is technically what we're talking about here. As far as the actual psychological issues at play, it used to be called gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder. Now they call it gender dysphoria. The idea that sex or gender are malleable is not true. Okay? And I'm not denying your humanity if you're a transgender person. I am saying that you are not the sex to which you claim to be. You're still a human being, and you're a human being with an issue that I wish you Godspeed in dealing with in whatever way you see fit. But if you are going to dictate to me that I'm supposed to pretend that men are women and women are men, no. My answer is no. I'm not going to modify basic biology because it threatens your subjective sense of what you are.
Okay, but you're still saying these kids should not be accepted because they don't really fit into either place? They can't just
I'm saying that the Boy Scouts have a standard. You must be a biological boy to be a Boy Scout. You have to be a boy to be a Boy Scout.
Where's that written though?
In the name Boy Scouts. Because this is a very because for all of human history, boy meant boy and girl meant girl. Boy did not mean girl. And if I call you a moose, are you suddenly a moose? Okay, if I redefine our terms. No, yes, that's right. Men and women are a completely different thing. This is true. Have you ever met a man or a woman? They're completely different.
You can't just say you're a cat. It's not a thing. It's genders. It's not saying you're.
Okay, why is that? I don't understand. Why? Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, I won't ask you how old. I will ask you how old you are. Okay, because you're young enough that it's probably not insulting to ask you. So.
I'm 22, so I'm probably young and naive, right?
No. Why aren't you 60? Why aren't you 60?
Because
And why can't you identify as 60? What is the problem with you identifying as 60?
Because it's not the same as gender. You can't just.
You're right. Age is significantly less important than gender. You can't magically change your gender. You can't magically change your sex. You can't magically change your age.
You can still legally change it. People recognize.
You can't legally change your age, by the way.
Obviously, you can change your name, you can change your sex, you can change your identity.
Just because you can do things legally doesn't mean that they are correct biologically. You could do lots of things in the past that were incorrect biologically and correct legally. For a long period of time in the United States, sterilization of the mentally ill took place. That didn't make it okay. Skinner versus Oklahoma. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote the decision.
Right. I still don't understand why you're accepting these children that are.
It's not a matter of open-minded and accepting. I want them to get treatment that they see fit, but that's not involving me. The idea behind the transgender movement as a civil rights movement is the idea that all of their problems would just go away if I would pretend that they were the sex to which they claim membership. That's nonsense. The transgender suicide rate is 40%. It is 40%. And according to the Anderson School at UCLA, it makes no difference. There's a study that came out last year. It makes no difference, virtually no difference, statistically speaking, as to whether people recognize you as a transgender person or not. When it comes to human nature, the left doesn't believe that human beings are capable of great good or great evil. The left believes that if human beings are flawed, that's because the system is flawed. The system has made people bad. Right? This is what Marxism suggests. Marxism suggests that you're all widgets, and you're just a product of the evil capitalist system. So if you do something bad, then that's because capitalism made you that way. The free markets made you that way. Freedom made you that way. Thus, we have to overthrow it and build a fairer world. Human beings are bad because of Western civilization, which is evil, and was founded in racism and sexism and bigotry. Western civilization, you hear very often, is founded irredeemably on white supremacy. The reason that you have bad people, the reason you have individual racists is because society broadly is racist. America is founded on this racism. And that white supremacy, that's what causes crime and poverty and inequality, not the fact that human beings do good things and do bad things, not the fact that some human beings commit crimes. No, the society at large is responsible for that, because if society were perfect, if you had a utopia, that would change the nature of human beings.
I don't think that border security and a pathway to citizenship are mutually exclusive. Those two things can happen simultaneously at the same time.
Why?
And that is the compromise. That is the place of compromise for Democrats and Republican, Larry. They can happen at the same time. We can build a fence, we can build a wall, we can build an electric fence if that's what they want, but at the same time, we need to provide a pathway to citizenship for those 11 million that are in the shadows. The Republican Party's problem is they can cannot get a pathway through citizenship out of the United States House of Representatives, whether they like it or not, whether we beefed up the border or not, whether we put Marine Team 6 on the border, they would still not be able to pass a pathway to citizenship.
That's simply not true. If you secured the border, people would pass a pathway to citizenship.
Count the votes.
I promise you, I know the Republican Party pretty well, and if you were to secure the border, then you would be able to pass a pathway to citizenship. You would.
Why can't those happen? Why are those two things mutually exclusive?
Why are they connected?
Because if we're dealing with immigration as a total issue. They're not separate issues.
Of course they're separate issues, because the fact is that if you do
not.
Okay,
it's
fine.
all about
you're
maintaining
right.
our border and having immigration control.
So you're right. Let's assume you're right, and we'll completely connect them. Okay, but the way we'll connect them is we won't have any border security. Amnesty for everybody. Is there a problem or no?
That's not what. But see, but this is exactly where they go to, Larry. Every time we have these discussions,
this is where we go to. Why don't you explain why they have to be
and
connected?
that is not. Well, wait a second. That is not what's in the Senate bill. In the Senate bill, which is the Democratic solution, which has been endorsed by the president and all the Democrats in the United States Senate, that bill strengthens our border. It increases border security, and at the same time provides a very, very, very long pathway to citizenship that takes almost 10 years. It is completely and totally bipartisan. Yet still, Republicans in the House won't even bring the bill to the floor for a vote.
Richard,
Why can't they vote?
Honestly, I have one question in all of this. Seriously, just one question. Why not just secure the border and then put a pathway to citizenship in?
Why can't those happen at the same time?
Why don't you answer my question instead of asking me back why? I just explained to you why they can't. Here's why they can't happen at the same time. As you secure the border remains somewhat open. People cross the border because they feel that if they get in before the deadline, if they get in before the border is secure, then they are somehow included in the pathway to citizenship. Of course I've read the bill. And not only have I read the bill, I've been watching what's happening on the border with tens of thousands of children crossing the border in anticipation of amnesty.
Wait, because we have
what do you think is happening?
There's no law right now. But in the Senate
there's no
bill,
law right
we
now.
talk about
You're right. There's no law against crossing the border illegally.
In the Senate bill, we talk about who qualifies for a pathway to citizenship, and those deadlines do not apply to those individuals that cross the border.
And how are you going to magically determine that, Richard?
Today.
Do they have a magical
It's in the bill.
Right, they have
Read the bill.
I've read the bill, Richard. Can you explain to me
when you haven't read it correctly?
when you determine who has crossed the border when? I was unaware that everybody who crosses the border has a barcode.